Okay, then we will move to item C, and Mr. McMullen was fortunate to attend a legislative conference and was going to share a few things with us.
Sure. I'll keep it brief. It was early November. It was a fairly wide-ranging conference. There were some entertaining parts and some more instructional parts to it. The entertaining parts, they had two political scientists that if you listen to public radio, you hear all the time, and they came and talked about trends and Act 10, where we've been, where we're going, and it was very entertaining. They made some predictions. I'm not going to go into all of that now, but that was one part that people could have listened to probably all day long, just what's going to happen kind of things that we're all talking about. The other one was they had two legislators, both one from the Assembly Education Committee, one from the Senate Education Committee, both Republicans. And they were, you might imagine, somewhat, it felt like they were in front of a hostile crowd. And I give them credit. They stood there and answered all the questions people had, and it was very interesting to watch the exchange between all these board members and legislators that were making these decisions. The part that I'll talk quickly about, the more sort of instructional components, there were two things I'll point out. One they called community engagement to support strong public schools, and they focused on two things, outreach and engagement. And these are topics that have come up before that we're discussing. And with outreach, they ask, how do you get people to care? How do you let people know what's going on? How do you get people in your schools? And in this time where there's so many changes going on, they were just stressing how important it is to really have a good dialogue going with the public. And their point that they were sort of emphasizing is, don't just sort of expect people to come ask you the questions. Don't expect them to just come to the monthly board meetings. You got to go out to where they are. You got to go to civic meetings. You got to go to business meetings. And we already have a lot of meetings as it is. I know that. But they thought it would be, it's just really important to be going out, not just expecting people to come to you for that outreach. The other component was this engagement, and their emphasis, again, was shifting from communication, we're telling you, to engagement. Instead of holding public hearings, hosting community conversations, engage the public. And I think of the meeting that you organized, the administration organized before the annual budget meeting, where people could come in, a presentation was made, and then we let people ask questions, and I think that's going to become more and more important, just to develop trust as we work through a lot of difficult issues. So that was one component. The other one was really focused on the legislative advocacy, and they had a couple school districts come in and talk about their efforts to do that, and some of them have really made it just a component of the school board to have a dialogue with their legislators. They have a person that's just checking in routinely. They're inviting them to things all the time, just a regular communication. They appoint someone on the board as a correspondent, someone who stays on top of all the pending bills, what's going on with those things, reporting to the board. And then one suggestion they had, as you're working in the legislative advocacy field, is instead of just having your administration contact them when an issue comes up. I know when we had the information system, that was one of our recent things where we went to our legislator and asked for help. But think about going to them as a full board. I mean, if they receive a letter or something that's coming from the full board, it just, they really have to pay attention to something like that, other than just having an administrator calling them. And also, even beyond that, having groups of school districts with interests that align contacting the legislators, really leveraging some authority to get things done. So those were the more instructional parts. There was a lot more, but that's what I'll present tonight.
Thank you.
Sure.
That was good. And you're right, I mean, we have discussed some of those things in the past, too, and so it's certainly a time maybe to look at moving ahead with a few of those thoughts, so it's a good thing. Okay.